guys, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me. It is a blessing and pleasure as always to be here with you. Please do trust that whenever you have found yourself here, there are likely to be messages within the contents of this video for you. I would encourage you to use your discernment. Take only what resonates with you and leave the rest for someone else. Please do not make anything yours that isn't. I want to start off by saying, as I was tapping into the energies, preparing for these messages, I got so many things coming in just as I started tapping in with the cards, and it's very interesting how it has been probably a good week or two since I started getting these messages coming in. And as soon as I started tapping in with the cards, I was getting messages that were actually very similar to what had been coming through initially. So I want to start off by sharing with you a song that came through, and that song is called Where You Are by John Summit and 𝙃𝙄. The song will be linked in the notes below for you if you want to give it a listen. But the lyrics that came through for you are, I get this feeling, I want to be where you are. And it's interesting because when you're listening to the song, it actually comes through as, you know, perhaps someone longing for another. But the way that it has come through for you is actually this externalization of missing your authentic, true self, this longing to reconnect with the deepest and purest parts of yourself, but taking that and externalizing it, right? Projecting that onto another. And so you may be in this very interesting space where you're like craving this individuality, craving this independence, but there's this illusion, this veil, this mask that is trying to almost, or perhaps even an avoidance, right? Trying to kind of convince yourself that what you're seeking is in someone else, when in reality, it is you that you're seeking. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So there's this message that was coming through along with that has to do with this separating yourself from preconditioned beliefs. Okay, so that can be familial, cultural, religious, or social paradigms, right? The separation of this identity built around external or material, worldly validation. So again, there's this breaking free from externalizing this feeling of belonging, this feeling of acceptance, this feeling of completion. You may have based your value or worth on opinions or acceptance of others, or what you can provide, how you can show up for them, right? Your value is in how you show up for other people, how much you can give to someone, how much you can protect them, how much you can kind of validate them, you know, being for everyone else what you yourself need, which is beautiful, by the way. I just want to point that out. It's incredibly beautiful to provide that for other people, and certainly there's a need for that in the world. However, there's this need for balance, right? This need for not only providing that for other people, but giving that same attention, that same acceptance, that same acknowledgement of self. And I feel as though this leads to essentially, you know, being meant to find your own intrinsic value. Okay, Christ living within you. What Steiner says is divinity within the soul. which is from the East in the Light of the West, GA 113, which I will link below for you. It's rocking the boat in a way that says, I don't need anything external to validate me, which in a world that is very much entrenched in materialism, very much focused on the external, that is, going against the status quo. That is rocking the boat. I mean, really, if we want to get into it, it's more like sinking the boat, okay? Because a vast majority of people are living from that external validation, are living from that acceptance from that which is outside of themselves. Okay, you can look at it merely by how many people base their value or worth on clicks and likes. There is something coming through here for you as well, which has to do with this perhaps artistic venture or motivation. There's something that wants to be created, something you're passionate about, perhaps a dream you've had. As this was coming through, I heard the words, dream a little dream. I feel like whatever this is for you feels as though it's nothing but a dream. The dream a little dream part feels to me as though the dream is massive, that the dream feels impossible. From a perspective that is not confined by the limitations of the physical world, the dream is little. If you are to step back and look at this from the observer's perspective, if you were to look at the bigger picture, the one dream in this incarnation, over however many human incarnations that one might have, this is but a grain of sand. I'm actually being reminded of a William Blake quote. Maybe you want to meditate on that quote. I feel like that could open something up, perhaps. But when I explored this dream a little dream a bit more, I actually was led to a 1989 movie, which I had never seen before, and for research purposes watched. The movie is actually quite spiritual in nature. It has to do with meditation and dreams and kind of switching bodies. Can be a little hard to follow, but what feels very relevant from that movie is this kind of comparisonitis, right? Where you may perceive from, this external position, from this external point of view, that you understand someone else, or that you have this knowledge about them based on what you see externally, and truly not being able to ever fully comprehend why they are the way they are, or why their life is the way it is, because you haven't lived it. You haven't had to be them. You haven't had to make the decisions they have, or to have experienced what they have. And so, while you may be looking at other people, whoever that may be for you, there's this reminder that you never truly know what's going on within them. And however it may appear to you, you could be worlds away from what is true for them. There's also a song by Armin van Buuren and Sam Gray called Dream a Little Dream. That may also be relevant for you. I will link that in the notes below as well. So another energy that was coming through is this energy of, and I was getting these words specifically, forgiveness, serenity, and peace with self. Okay, I feel as though this isn't so much about forgiving anyone else, though perhaps there are situations that play into this, there's this feeling of forgiving yourself for essentially abandoning yourself, for essentially maybe even disassociating from yourself, right? For kind of becoming this chameleon, if you will, where you're taking on these roles that others expect you to play, or where you're taking on this camouflage so that you can be accepted or to be acknowledged, to feel as though you belong. I'm actually being reminded of seeing the Five of Wands in the tarot while shuffling. And it's bringing to my attention this kind of mental jousting, this back and forth. It almost feels like the more authentic, more, we'll call it the self, you, that, yes, thank you, the individuality that is you wanting to come forward, but almost being, smothered or suppressed by what you feel is expected of you, how you feel you're expected to show up, right? Again, this abandonment of self, or as was pointed out to me while shuffling, and what came through and just blew my mind because of how synchronistic it is to what I had coming through for you, a week or two ago, is the number 5 orphaned card from the Wisdom of the Oracle in that reverse or protection position. Okay, we are going to be using that deck here, and so it'll be interesting to see if it does show itself again. But I want to read to you from the guidebook what it says about this card in that position. The shadow side of this card speaks to the essence of abandonment. Perhaps you feel a need to remain apart because intimacy is too threatening. It also warns against creating inappropriate family structures in order to conceal old wounds. It's time to address the unhealthy alliances you've formed and make a decision to heal the past. You will not be abandoned by the world if you claim yourself as whole. Not all relationships are dysfunctional, and not all of them will disappoint you. Don't abandon yourself. You can connect to others in a healthy way once you recognize your patterns and consciously choose to interrupt them. Life wants to love you. Let it. Okay? So again, it's this message of showing up in the world as your most authentic self, that separation from the identity built around those external, material, worldly validations, or having that sense of, or feeling as though your value is based on opinions or what you can provide, right? The acceptance that others show you. So I did see the Death card and the Ten of Pentacles, both in their upright positions, side by side as I was shuffling the tarot, and also saw a lot of actually 10 energy just in general. And so there's an initial message coming through of this renewal or rebirth that comes after laying down the burdens of the past, after allowing the past or this cycle to close out, right? Closing that chapter and allowing something new to begin. There's this energy of, building something much greater for the future. You may be someone who would consider themselves, a black sheep type, or an outcast or an outsider even if you have been someone who has been this, chameleon, as I referred to earlier, someone who's tried to blend in or tried to fit in to get in type of energy. Maybe you had to do that as a means of survival. Maybe that is something that has unfolded as a trauma response, and that's completely understandable, right? But there's this energy of allowing yourself to heal from that and stepping forward as who you authentically are, right? Being okay with being the outsider, the black sheep, not being afraid of being, abandoned or outcast by others. Because here's the thing. There will always be someone who appreciates your most authentic you. Even if you find yourself alone in a very physical sense, that's never truly the reality. And if you can take those moments of what we might call separation, right, where you're more isolated, you're more in this hermit phase, let's say, if you can take those moments and recognize them or appreciate them for an opportunity to get to know the real you, to get very comfortable with the real you, the most authentic you, and then to emerge or to allow yourself the opportunity, should it be presented to you, to emerge and to carry, if you will, your most authentic you without shame. There will be those that appreciate that. There will be those that are accepting of that, that acknowledge the true you and who love you regardless. So I'm very excited to dive into what the cards might have to say. So let's get into that and see what comes through for you. Father, Mother, Life, Christ, Universe, spirits, guides, angels, our cosmic team, our ancestors, our higher selves, what other messages would be helpful for Aries now, please? Thank you. Okay. So we have here to start off Gemini, multifaceted, balanced, and curious. The interesting thing about Gemini coming out is that Gemini is the, twins, the physical, the spiritual, and then there's this balance between those two worlds. And it's interesting, based on what we've been discussing, that it would show up here. There's something about this that is saying or encouraging you to be curious about the truth that is you. To not try to, kind of put yourself in a box, to not try to limit your truth to one thing or another. And that can be very difficult, especially if, you're someone who has been very focused on the opinions of the physical world, on the, this external validation. It can be very hard to not put yourself in a box, because unfortunately that's just what the world does. And so it feels as though this is coming out as a means of saying, one of the ways you might be able to get beyond that is to remain open and curious about the truth of who you are. And again, not needing to put yourself in a box, right? Not needing to show up as one thing or another, or to be perceived in one way or another, but rather allowing yourself to be whatever you are. I know that's so much easier said than done, but that's that multifacetedness of being a human, that and a soul together, right? The way that I'm seeing it, and I can't remember, I'm sure I saw this on like a movie or a TV show or something, but what I'm being shown is kind of this, like a being with like two faces, where the head kind of spins, and one face shows one thing, and then another face shows another. That may have been very much the reality that you've experienced, right? Almost feeling like your head is on a swivel. In one space, you may be one thing, which may feel very authentic to you. Perhaps this is when you've been alone or with certain individuals, where you feel you're able to freely be who you are, and that that authentic you is going to be welcomed. Or you're in a space where it feels as though you can do that. You're allowed. I don't know why I'm getting the word allowed, but you're allowed to do that. And then in the company of, let's say, certain individuals, or in certain spaces, environments, you're something else, which is, perhaps, if at all, a sliver of who you truly are, what you truly are, what you actually think, what you actually feel. And I'm seeing this it's kind of interesting how it's being shown to me, but I'm seeing almost like it's like stuffing laundry into a laundry basket, and just continuing to like stuff it down and stuff it down and stuff it down and stuff it down, without actually emptying it out, without actually sorting things out. I feel as though this image is being shown to me because it does feel as though there's been this suppression of what you truly feel and who you truly are and what you truly think. And it does feel like all of that is just wanting to be released, wanting to be expressed, wanting to be kind of cleansed. So we have here as well for you psyche, soul, consciousness, mind. Interesting that you would have this mind energy with Gemini showing up, being ruled by Mercury, the mind. I'm actually seeing like luggage, like suitcases and bags. I feel as though your mind is burdened, your mind is overwhelmed, your mind is like there's this baggage, this heaviness. I feel as though you may be someone who actually, kind of, in the moments where, oh, that's very interesting. Okay, so you could be someone who either, in the moments where you have the time to, let's say, relax, if you want to call it that, it's just actually where you don't have any other demands that are being asked of you. I don't know that it's relaxing actually at all. But there's a feeling of, just your thoughts just running rampant. It just feels like they're turning and turning and turning and turning. So you could be someone who experiences that, or you could be someone who, when you have those moments of, let's say, downtime, where the thoughts start to creep in, the mind starts to kind of, let's say, wander, there's this kind of, we'll call it a knee-jerk reaction, if you will, to escape that, to maybe you're someone who like scrolls or watches TV, or there's this energy of finding something to occupy the mind, because sitting with it just feels so overwhelming. I feel as though what's needed here, Aries, is a purge, right? Like this time to sit with the things, with the feelings, with the thoughts, with the emotions, with the experiences, and to allow yourself to be with them, to process them more specifically, because it just feels like you haven't had this, like you haven't had the opportunity, the time, the space, the freedom, the ability, for some reason or another, to process what you feel, to like have a conversation with yourself about it. Again, right? So there's this air energy, right? Lots of mind energy coming through here. Expansive, intellectual, inquisitive. I feel like I've seen something at some point that has like this, acronym for fear, which is like false evidence appearing real. Maybe you've seen this as well. I don't know what this is for you. And certainly, it could be many, many things, but there's a feeling of, again, kind of keeping yourself small, or keeping yourself contained, or actually I'm hearing playing by the rules until. There's this feeling of like waiting for a moment to escape, or waiting for a moment to be set free, not realizing that you're the one that holds the keys to your expansion. You're the one that holds the keys to the box that you've confined yourself to. There's a feeling of putting this immense pressure on yourself to be what someone else expects. All the while, Aries, I mean, you're meant to be this independent individual, right? Again, Aries is the self. So, and I'm actually having the Emperor come to mind as well. Okay. And the way that it's coming through, and I don't say this as, a means of like permission to just run amok and be some kind of tyrant or something. But the Emperor doesn't become the Emperor because he's pleasing everyone else. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, the Emperor cannot please everyone. The Emperor has to make the decisions that are best, and you're gonna tick people off. I mean, do you know what I'm saying? You can't please everyone and be the emperor of your empire, or be the king of your kingdom. You may be someone who has a lot of air in your birth chart, and that could be significant for you. Just another kind of confirmation, right? We also have here 8th house. Yes, Scorpio, metamorphosis, death, rebirth. So you may have Scorpio placements or 8th house placements, but I feel the reason why this card has shown up is very much, what I was talking about just a little while ago with that death and rebirth card. It is a representation of Scorpio in the tarot. So this is confirmation, right? It is that metamorphosis that takes place when you lay to rest the things that are no longer serving you, when you allow yourself to put down those burdens. And I'm not in any way, shape, or form saying that this is easy, or that it'll happen overnight, or that there will not be a test of courage and strength and faith, or that it will not require much from you. Okay? So I just want to make that very clear. But what I am saying is, if you look at it from the perspective of, let's say, a phoenix, right? It burns to ash. And from the ash, something new comes. Acknowledging that allowing something to die may be painful. Being reborn may be painful. Even if you look at childbirth from a very, human perspective. It's not a walk in the park. It's not easy. It is painful. It is arduous. It's trying on the body. It's trying on the mind. And so, nothing about death and rebirth should be expected to be easy. Again, I just feel as though this is showing up to acknowledge that in order to free yourself, in order to heal, in order to move forward, in order to bring forth this more authentic you, in order to set yourself free, as it were, there's going to be this need to allow yourself to transform, to allow this former version of yourself to perish. Okay, let's see. What else wants to come through for you? Okay. To be fair, the number 38. TikTok, the number 30. And happy, the number 26. What I'm getting with this to be fair card, 38 does reduce to 11, so these numbers could be significant for you. But what I'm being reminded of with 38 reducing to 11 is the Justice card in the tarot. And what that is bringing through is this essence of truth. I'm actually also seeing Ma'at, right? The weighing of the heart against a feather. There is a fortune cookie in this card. I don't know if you can see it. It's quite small, but the fortune coming out of that cookie says nope. And that's what's bringing through that energy of, Ma'at and the feather, the weighing of the heart against the feather. The fortune cookie essentially saying, nope, you can't pretend. There cannot be this absence of accountability, this absence of truth. It's, how do I say? The purification of oneself is not an easy, simple undertaking, right? It is not something that is just given, if that makes sense. It's earned. So there's this energy of to be fair, there's this need to atone. And I'm not saying this as a means of accusation or as a means of, trying to make you feel some type of way about yourself and the decisions you've made or what has led you to where you are. We all make decisions based on what we know at that time. And so this is not to blame you okay, for not knowing what you didn't know, or from making decisions based on what was available to you at the time. But there is this sense of taking accountability for suppressing who you truly are. For taking, it's taking accountability for, essentially abandoning oneself. And again, I understand that there may have been reasons for that. I'm not saying that was something that you did consciously, that you were aware of what you were doing, that, you weren't in a situation where you felt as though you needed to do that in order to survive. I'm not, blaming you. I just want to make that very clear. I'm not trying to invalidate your experiences. However, there's this taking accountability for the choices we've made, even when we didn't know any better. And that requires us to purify ourselves. It requires work, right? So again, it's this to be fair, in order to purify ourselves, in order to align with what is true, we must, if you will, atone or purify ourselves of what is not true, right? Again, it's not just a snapping of the fingers and that just happens. I hope that makes sense. And with that process, by the way, comes immense wisdom. It is not going to be easy. As a matter of fact, it's probably going to be one of the hardest things, if not the hardest thing you do. There's this, I'm being reminded of hearing G.G. Young lecture about Christ and how Christ is the purifying fire. Okay? Purifying fire. Think about that. Very much like this Phoenix energy that's come through for you already. It will probably be one of the more painful things you do. But there's also this reminder that speaks of how struggle and pain is sacred, and how if we can find it within ourselves, we should rejoice, because that is what is going to lead us to truth and to wisdom. If that makes sense. So, here on the top of the head of this woman is an owl, right? Representing the wisdom that comes. And again, this is not about, judging yourself. I want to make that very clear. This is not about judging yourself. That wisdom comes from a space of neutrality, of understanding that certain decisions were made with the knowledge base that we had at the time. And once we know better, we can do better. Okay? So again, it's not looking at yourself and shaming. It's just acknowledging and taking the time to purify yourself of that. Which is interesting, right? Because I didn't even think about this. We have this TikTok card here for you. Number 30 or 3. I'm also seeing the numbers 13 and 14 that are standing out here. And so those numbers may be significant for you, but with the TikTok card coming up, it really is just emphasizing, taking the time. Oh, okay. And here we have, right, happy, the number 26 or 8, which is interesting because it's right there beneath the 8th house card. But what it's showing me is taking the time to do what is necessary in order to cultivate your happiness. And though it may take time, and though it may be painful, and though, it may be unpleasant or what have you, it is acknowledging the reward, if you will. Right? Look at what happens. Look at what is possible when you allow yourself the time to do this, to find your happiness, to discover that within you, and to be that, and to show up in the world as that, to be transformed by it. No time is wasted, I'm hearing. No time is wasted in the development of yourself, because there's a different kind of freedom. There's a different kind of happiness that comes when you are able to show up authentically, when you're not reliant on the acceptance or validation of others for your joy, for your happiness. Okay, what else? Thank you. All right, let's see what we have. So we do have the 5 of Cups here in the reverse. I mean, very fascinating, right? Because the 5 of Cups in the upright is essentially this kind of like mourning, this grief, this loss. And the energy that's coming through here is like no crying over spilt milk, right? There's an energy of allowing things to leave as they will, allowing things to be transformed as they will, flowing with the, let's say, seasons or rhythms of life. And that's what we experience, right? We experience these cycles of death and rebirth. We are a part of nature, and as such, we experience life cyclically. We experience the, birth and life and death of all things, whatever that may be, right? It can be hobbies, it can be habits, it can be relationships, it can be living situations, you name it. So there's the feeling with the 5 of Cups to allow things to move as they will and to not fear that. 6 of Cups, wow, also in the reverse. So, there's with that coming up, it's just kind of confirming, right, this allowing things to move as they will. And 6 of Cups showing up as, releasing yourself from the past, becoming independent. Oh, there it is, the Hermit. I had a feeling we might see this card. What's interesting about that is it's really emphasizing this need to go your own way, Fleetwood Mac, okay? It really is letting your light guide you, letting your light lead the way, letting the inner guru, the inner teacher, the inner wisdom lead you. Not being led by your surroundings, be it people, environments, experiences, etc. Not being guided by the past, by external things, but rather finding that light within you and allowing it to lead the way. I've just seen the number 333, so that could be significant for you. Oh, okay, thank you. I'm also being reminded of, earlier when I was speaking about divinity within you, Christ within you, the light within you. Okay, 3, of course, is connected with the Trinity, with Christ. Seven of Pentacles. I think one of your biggest struggles, Aries, is the patience required to allow yourself to, let's say, bloom. I think that's probably going to be one of the bigger struggles for you. Aries, you tend to be this let's go, let's do it, let's move, action, action, action energy. And I feel like that's going to be the struggle, because essentially it's planting the garden and wanting the harvest to be there the next day, which of course we know isn't how things work. And so I think that may be one of your biggest challenges, is the stillness, the silence, the waiting, right? Not seeing things come to fruition immediately. I think that's going to be where, faith and courage and strength are going to be required of you. I'm also hearing this message of essentially, how is it, please? Not all battles are won with swords. Right? Like there's a message of essentially, some things you just have to kind of wait it out. I can feel, by the way, that like cringe when I say that. We're just like, oh, what do you mean? What do you mean? Like, I'm ready to go to war. I'm ready to battle. Like, throw me in, coach, type of thing. Yeah, so I think that's going to be the struggle. But that is where you're going to grow the most, is in the waiting, is in the patience, right? That is where, how do I say this? It's almost this, it's almost like a dual purpose type of energy, right? Because not only is your, how do I say, not only are you refined, is your impulsivity refined during the waiting, but it's essentially giving you the opportunity to learn how to navigate your own ego, right? Because it's like your ego is the thing that's like, I want it right now. Give it to me right now. I need it right now. So it feels like it's going to be, or it has the potential to be this massive growth experience for you, right? There's the potential here to grow immensely during this period of maybe a slower moving process, there's a lot being cultivated in the waiting that could ultimately be very useful for you in the future. Look at that. 9 of Wands. I mean, this is an energy of perseverance, determination, right? This is fighting the good fight, as it were. But it's not fighting the fight in a physical way. It's not fighting a physical fight. It's choosing to be determined and not giving up when things don't seem to be moving. That perseverance, that determination, that is what is going to lead to the rebirth. That is what is going to lead to that happy. Again, I just want to remind you, right, that we have this transformative energy with the 8th house, and we have happy, which is 26 or 8. So it's emphasizing that it's that determination, that perseverance, that unwillingness to waver, that is going to lead to the transformation, that is going to, cultivate the transformation, which is going to reveal that happiness. The bottom of the deck here, interesting, the 5 of Swords. And we were just talking about, not all battles are won with swords. And here's the 5 of Swords, which is a card, by the way, of ambition. It's a card of doing whatever it takes, stepping on whoever is in your way in order to achieve victory. And here it is in the reverse position, which is essentially telling me that it's not about winning at all costs. It's not about, doing whatever in the moment to get what you want. The battle isn't won with a sword, not this time. The battle is won with determination and courage and faith. We have here for you the law of relativity. You are divinely perfect. Live your truth. If you wanted a signier sign, Aries, there it is. Live your truth. The law of gender. Embrace your divine masculine and divine feminine within. So what I find really fascinating about this card showing up is, again, it's bringing forward this energy of balance. Okay, here we're maybe not so much talking about, that balance in the perspective of Gemini, the spiritual twin, versus the physical twin, but rather the divine masculine energies versus the divine feminine energies, and balancing those two out. Again, here, Aries being this action-oriented masculine energy, right, represented by the Emperor in the tarot, you're being asked, instead of to be the let me go get it energy, instead to be the let it come to me energy, right? The feminine energy. Instead of pursuing, it's allowing. And again, this is where I feel like the challenge is really going to come forth for you. This is where I feel as though, the test is really going to take place. It's in the allowing. And it may be one of the harder things you do, right? Because it's in your nature to pursue. It's in your nature to take action. It's in your nature to go after it. But now you're being asked to allow, to receive. Very, very different energies. Final messages, please. Wow. One more. I'll take one more, please. Wait till you see this card if you haven't already. Thank you. So interesting, especially that it would, find itself falling even there with that balanced energy and the to be fair energy where we talked about truth. Temple of Truth, throat chakra, authenticity, self-expression. And there's the waterfall there, letting things flow, right? Not holding back, but letting things flow, letting things come forward. Akashic records, yes, clearing old stories, releasing past lives, freedom. I mean, you cannot make this up. Opening a new book, a new chapter, whatever that may look like for you. Sacred inner space, sacral chakra, tenderness, sensuality. Yes, this is really hinting at that divine feminine energy, right? That tenderness, that showing up for yourself and holding yourself and allowing yourself to be what you are and holding space for that, giving yourself grace. There's an energy of allowing the truth, yes, thank you, to set you free. Okay? And letting it open you up, right? Like letting yourself bloom. So notice, right? We have this temple of truth and the Akashic record, which says freedom here. Okay? So it's that the truth will set you free, but first it's going to hurt a lot. And the reason that it hurts isn't because truth hurts. It's because the lies that we're confronted with in the face of truth hurt. The lies hurt. Okay? The lies we've told ourselves, the lies others have told us, the lies that we have told to others, they hurt. The false reality hurts. Taking off the mask upon realizing that we've been wearing it hurts. But it allows for this unfolding. And during that process, there needs to be this level of grace, this level of tenderness, right? The ability to hold space for yourself without trying to force anything, without trying to rush anything. Being determined, standing your ground, knowing that what awaits, the rewards that come from that, may be something you've never experienced before. This level of happiness that comes from within and echoes out, not the other way around. Because that is something that cannot be taken from you. Aries, I want to thank you so very much for joining me. It has been an absolute pleasure to be here with you. I pray that something here has been validating for you, has provided you with some kind of confirmation, or has been valuable for you in some way, shape, or form as you continue moving along your journey. Take care of your growing, transforming, beautiful, needed, powerful soul. Peace be with you and within you, and I hope to see you in another chat. Bye.